Yeah, I come from I'm a refugee from the car industry. I don't know if Dan Sturgis is here as well. Dan also comes from the car design world. He escaped much earlier and has been on this quest for some time now. The car design world has contributed to this allure and excitement and high anticipation of owning vehicles, and have helped contribute to this desire to own cars. And my big quest is to try to use that mindset, that skill, to help create excitement and desire to be part of the future vision of transportation and future more environmentally friendly ways of moving around. Make a long story short, I started out in mechanical engineering. I thought I'd become a great part designer. That wasn't exciting, so I moved to car design because I wanted to design the complete vehicle. I spent 16 years at Johnson Controls, being involved with many of the car companies around the world, contributing to the vehicles that you see on the road. And now that wasn't enough. I want to be part of helping design the complete new transportation system instead of one car at a time. So that's my main quest. I live in Pasadena. I'm helping develop a innovation center here in Michigan called the New North Center for Design and Business, talking about how design and the creative process can influence business and help revitalize and re-energize opportunities. And I have an office, part of an office in Washington called Hunt Green, helping to have that design voice in Washington help contribute to some of the influence and change that is necessarily very necessary and needed. Some of this has been talked about, but I will go through it quickly. But transportation has long been directly linked to progress in America, from the Indians who obviously used canoes on waterways, to the settlers that arrived on ships across the ocean, to the covered wagons that help provide people and movement across the country, the trains that help link the coasts in a much larger scale way, to planes that allow you to be pretty much anywhere the same day, to digital communication technology, which allows you to be virtually anywhere instantaneously. And all of those have significantly moved our society. Hopefully, we will look at what happens next to, from a transportation standpoint, to be part of the next big culture shift. Obviously, one of those segments, vehicles and cars, have probably reached a limit to how much they will be able to provide our transportation needs in the future. You've seen these images before. It's causing us all to rethink the car, the technology, what goes into the car, what cars are made of, what comes out of the car is all under significant scrutiny right now, and obviously that form is under significant change. As Lou talked about, there's been a fascination with vehicles, and from a functional standpoint, they started out as transportation devices. They've since become icons of success and status symbols, and have a whole world of role that they play in our society, well beyond just moving people around. And it's that side of a vehicle that makes the change discussion very difficult, because you're not just technically changing the device, but you're trying to change people's minds, which is one of the reasons we all came together here today for this conference. And some of that shift is starting to happen. I think in the many of the images that Lou shared, the vehicle was this highly aspirational device. But if you look at younger kids and younger ages now, devices like the iPhone and other devices are becoming very iconic. And I had a recent discussion with the chief designer for BMW in California, and he came to me, and we went to school together, and he came to me all concerned because he goes, my kids, they're not into cars. What am I going to do? Because he obviously wants, his passion for cars to continue, and they're much more interested in sitting in the basement and texting each other across the room than to worry about driving cars on Saturday and washing them and so forth. So that shift, I think, is starting to change. That people so love their cars, they build monuments, thus the garage, to house all of these vehicles. And as you can see on the left, they go to quite extremes building these garage monuments. They're so fascinated with their garage, they actually are developing ways that they can bring the garage with them as they drive around. So, can cars alone solve the problem? I asked my son to spend a few minutes drawing and designing what he thought would be the perfect solution in terms of cars. And after some time, he quickly realized that that wasn't going to do it. So, we need a plan. There's several people who will be on stage, who have been on stage and who will be on stage next that are all part of advocating some new broad vision for transportation in the United States. That's very much needed, not just from my world, but from everybody coming together and creating that new broad plan. Last December, I was asked to testify before Congress after all of the CEOs, not all of the CEOs, but the CEOs that were called to Washington by Congressman Markey to basically say, hey, you know, what should we give these guys $30 billion? What should we do? And if we did, what should we ask for in return? And I was part of a panel that was brought in to discuss that. And basically, we said we're not short-term finance experts. We're not going to tell you exactly what to do, short-term. But what you really need to ask them is a long-term plan. Everybody in the room wants them to last much longer than 5 months. Everybody wants them to last 50 years. So what you need to do is ask for a long-term plan from the car companies that were there. But you also need a long-term plan for yourself. And as many of you know, so I'm preaching to the choir, but there is no long-term single vision for transportation in the United States. And I think that very much needs to be created. We saw what happened with the Futurama, which created a vision, and the highway proposal in 54 that came out and actually defined how that was going to work, and then thus created the highway system that we have today. The issue was we never went back to that vision, updated it, kept it current, and kept it moving forward. So it worked great for a while. Obviously, that Futurama study that was done, the highway system we have today, needs significant attention and focus. So following being part of that event in Congress, my colleague and I, Jeff Wardle, who unfortunately could not be here today, drafted this white paper, which calls for an all-new vision of bringing the best and brightest minds, many of which are you here in the room. It's not really rocket science, but it actually isn't happening. It needs to happen in organizations like we're going to see America 2050 and T for America and others that are calling for this new vision is something that from the design and creative standpoint we very much want to be part of and help pull that coalition of people together to help build an exciting future that people want to be part of. I think everything that Lou just talked about in terms of imagining an exciting and desirable world that people want to be part of, that in addition to policy and the other types of change mechanisms are going to get us to a much more environmentally friendly system of moving